today. I hope we have a lot of interesting discussions ahead and a lot of questions coming from you as well. It's great to see that all the participants have their mics on mute right now. That's how we're going to try and keep it for the rest of the seminar. Please, if you have any questions at all during this webinar or any questions you would like answered during our Q&A session later, refer to the chat option on the panel at the bottom of your screen so you can see the mute option, then the start video option. Please try to keep yourself on mute at all times. If you would like to show yourself to the rest of us over here, please feel free to start the video for yourself and you can join us on the screen. Right next to the participants box is the chat option, which is what we would love for you to use as well. Please use this to talk to everyone here and have your questions answered. You also have reactions in case there's anything that you would like to respond to something that our speaker said. Now, I'd like to pass it on to Smriti, who will be moderating this session.
Thanks, Kshama. Good afternoon, everyone. At the onset, would like to thank each one of you for making time for Arogya's series of webinars and today's very relevant topic of eating well. I welcome you all on behalf of Arogya World, an organization that has been leading the mission of changing the course of NCDs, chronic disease, one community at a time, and has reached millions of people through innovative programs in spaces where people live, communities, where they work through the Healthy Workplace program, and where they study through school health program. Arogya's My Thali program that cuts across all these spaces essentially focuses engagement around food and nutrition, a domain practically ingrained in me personally by the virtue of my PhD in the subject. I am Dr. Smriti Pahwa, and it has been an absolute pleasure to not only have had an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Nalini Saligram, Arogya's founder, and the super dynamic Arogya team, but also include Arogya's innovative case study in my upcoming book, which talks about innovations for social impact through an MOC, a missed opportunities cognizant mindset. Today, I have the honor of moderating this conversation with our brilliant guest speakers, Ms. Chandan Manroa from Sodexo and Mr. Jay Sankar from Britannia. While both of them are prominent leaders in the space of healthy workplaces, let me do a quick introduction nevertheless. Ms. Chandan Manroa is an experienced healthcare professional with 18 years of experience across various segments. I believe she does have nutrition in her DNA too, as I learned she has a degree in the subject. Mr. Jay Sankar is a chemical engineer and possesses masters in industrial hygiene and safety. In his professional experience spanning 28 years, he has worked in renowned corporations like Dalmia Group, EID Parry, GE, Honeywell, GlaxoSmithKline in the past, and of course now he is with Britannia. So the way we have planned this session for today is that first half, Chandan, Jay, and I will share a conversation addressing some key issues that have been aligned on. But second half really is for discussion and to take questions from you all. So I encourage you all to please punch in your name, organization, designations in the chat box along with your questions if you want while we engage and we initiate the first session. So Jay, let me first go to you. In this turbulent COVID era, which has left us in this uncharted territory, I personally often end up tuning into voices closer to my doctoral subject of nutrition. And when I hear these voices across all the operating systems that I have been professionally involved in the last 2 decades, CSRs, government, not for government, corporates, I get these red flags of how COVID is bound to hit in short, medium, and long term. And nutrition obviously is a big piece here for the population at large, not just that, but also for corporate employees, health and well-being space. So why don't you, first just tell us about the best practices, and if you can draw insights from your rich experience, insights on corporate initiatives and best practices for employees that are in place, and then we can take it from there. So over to you, Jay.
Thank you, Dr. Smriti. I hope I'm audible. So let me just give some basic, understanding before we even pitch into this COVID-19 nutrition and all those stuff. So in our factories where we handle people, where we need productivity using the people, what is more important is the health and wellness of our employees, right? Whether it's our own employees or contractors or whomsoever, right? So what we do, and generally I'm talking generally about all the corporates that I have worked with, be it Dalmia or GE or Honeywell or GSK or now in Britannia. The focus is more towards having a balanced nutrition. And generally, when you talk about wellness, we talk about all the three dimensions, right? One is physical well-being, then the mental well-being, and then for the physical and mental well-being, it's a nutrition which is very important, right? Unless you have a proper nutrition and proper, diet, you cannot be really healthy. So the way the different organizations, there are different programs which have been run, right? And I will pitch on as the question comes up. One of the things which I have come across is during my experiences on energy for performance. That's something which was run as a corporate athlete program, right? So where it's very important for whether it's shop floor workmen or the corporate workmen to follow certain norms, right? How to maintain the energy levels throughout their work span, be it in the shifts or be it in the general shifts, how the nutrition need to be balanced, right? Similarly, there were other programs at GE where there were something called health by numbers, right? These are some key things like saying that zero tobacco, right? With no disrespect or not pointing to any specific thing, but zero tobacco, and then 5 fruits or vegetables a day, without any fried items, and then 10,000 steps, right? And then talking about the BMI of 25, right? 0, 5, 10, 25. That kind of a number. These are fancy numbers which hits the minds of the people. Similarly, there are programs on resilience programs that we had at GSK, and even in the current organization I'm in, right? We focus more on as a corporate social responsibility initiative on BNF, Britannia Nutrition Foundation, focuses on anemic aspects, right? Where malnutrition and anemic aspects, where there are communities who still thrive on malnutrition and the company is working on it. So there is two portions to it. One is what we do for the society and the public. The second aspect is how we do it internally within the organization, right? So that's something which we do in terms of having a balanced thing. So, as a question comes, I would be more than happy to answer specific to that. But um, what's more important is, be it at any point of the day, right? There should not be a starving or there should not be a feasting, right? So, as we move on to the questions, right? I'll be maybe able to explain them more on that. If there are anything specific that anyone has, they can ask me now, right? This is in a nutshell, right?
So you can, so like I said, I requested the participants, please punch in your questions in the chat box. You don't have to wait for that till the end of the session. And we do have a time allocated for that. So Chandan, thank you. I was amazed at how you compressed your last 28 years and insights into a 2-minute insight rich the pitch that you shared with us. Thank you so much. Chandan, moving to you, so please do tell us about all this and more in Sodexo. Also, if I may add a dimension here, if there are any special initiatives, put in place, taking cognizance of COVID-19, the situation that we are in. At Arogya, for instance, the My Thali initiative that I had mentioned earlier had been doing a lot in terms of propagating practical ways of maintaining balanced diet in these tough times when access is an issue, right? And also immunity boosting part of foods. So I'm sure links to all that will be shared. Arogya team can share the links to all that Arogya is doing. But right now, really, Chandan, wanted to hear from you on Sodexo initiatives in general, in specific. So over to you, Chandan.
Yeah, so thanks, Smriti, and good afternoon, everybody, for being here to listen to all of us. And of course, we would also like to hear from you, because at the end of the day, listening to clients and consumers really enriches us in the way we function. So yes, to answer your question, in a broad manner, I would say, we often think whether diet is really crucial to an employee's health. So of course at Sodexo we very strongly believe in this, and whenever we are dealing with any of our clients and consumers, we would always want to understand that the quality of the daily food that is offered to an employee in their workspace, because that's the place where they spend maximum number of their waking hours, is really important, right? And because poor nutrition can actually be one of the top 4 health risk behaviors which could lead to chronic diseases, right? So we at Sodexo very strongly believe in that, and that is the reason why wellness and nutrition is tied in very closely into all the food offers that are built. So we do not only build on serving food at sites at the various consumer levels that we function on, whether it is schools, whether it's universities, whether it is corporate clients, whether it's the hospitals, that's the healthcare industry. At every juncture, wellness and nutrition is tied up very closely to the menus that are served at sites. The quality of the ingredients, from the raw material to the finished products, is where Sodexo would think holistically into providing dietary habits which can actually reduce medical expenditure at the level of an employer. Okay, so to basically help an employer to combat rising healthcare costs and boost employee productivity is where we think nutrition programs can become part of the culture of any organization, so to say. So we do have various initiatives like we have a wellness charter in place which lays down guidelines for our site teams to ensure that all nutritional factors are taken care of, whether it's the level of carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals, etc. We do have initiatives like basically tagging our food items into simple methods of red, green and amber, which would be called as the food traffic lights, which highlights to a consumer as to what is the recommended allowance of each of the food items that are being served at the buffet. Also, we have a very robust system of communicating to our clients and consumers about why we say what we say. So in the manner of, we just don't include millets or plant-based proteins in our menu. We also tell them why we are doing it, right? So so largely from in this manner is what Sodexo is trying to inculcate in their consumers a method of living healthfully, right? So for the moment, this is in a nutshell, like Jayashankar also rightly said. I can tell you about the initiatives of what Sodexo does at sites, and more on this we can probably take it as it comes, I think, from the participants or from you, Smriti.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Chandan, for kind of giving a snapshot of sorts of all the initiatives. What I really liked about what you said was the why behind the what, which is very important, because if truly, if people understand, if corporates understand, if employees understand, I think nutrition, diet, because everybody eats food, everybody, food is part of our lives. Unlike many other things which might not be, and sometimes it is taken for granted, like you said, this recognition that nutrition and well-being, and nutrition is a big piece of health and well-being. If that can be bring into the limelight, then I think it is easier to understand the why. The second thing that really I think I thought I really spoke to me was the culture of the organizations. It's not just putting foods on the plate, but from and just not the quality assurance, but actually how to cultivate a culture, right? So in all this discourse, if you remember, I mentioned how I mentioned in the beginning that how personally, I was intrigued with innovations that Arogya has been doing in spaces to identify and address these missed opportunities, really, like I saw them as for nutrition and well-being. I think corporates is a big, huge space that harbors a significant part of our population, their time. So this is a huge space where there is this missed opportunity. And also the title of my upcoming book is Of Missed Opportunities, One Too Many. So let's talk about opportunities here. Really, are there any? And let me pose this to Jay and Chandan, both of you. With all these extended work from home times, especially during the lockdown that employees have, in a way, it's kind of natural to think that there might be a cut down in the distraction, that you are kind of restricted, at least in that physical space. How I would like to kind of examine this space from a lens of missed opportunities. Are there any to perhaps cultivate a culture or cultivate some healthy routines, some healthy lifestyle? I was reading an article that says like 21 days is the threshold habit formation day, and so on and so forth. So would you, both of you, like to react to something like what we are experiencing now, especially if I just restrict it to the lockdown and the employees? And could there be any habits, or could there be any routines that employees cultivate and probably corporates nudge them to cultivate in terms of accentuating the well-being, which can be taken forward through the post-COVID era? And why I'm kind of bringing this question, and Chandan, you mentioned NCDs, and Jay also spoke to that. I was reading this article, and I would like to, kind of just put a statistic out there. This featured in European Scientist, and it says in 2009, 61% patients admitted to hospitals in California, there was in H1N1 time, they were obese, which is 2.2 times, so more than double the prevalence of obesity within the state population. Also, data from, this is early estimates, 2,204 patients that they have studied, which are admitted to 286 NHS ICUs with COVID-19, revealed that 72.7%, like 3/4 of them, were overweight or obese. So, and the title of the article is COVID-19 and the Elephant in the Room. So really, we are talking about NCDs, we are talking about well-being. I wanted, to kind of nudge both of you as corporate leaders, and how do you see this time as an opportunity also to cultivate some positive habits? Any you could take, Chandan, you want to respond, or Jay,
I can pick this. I'll take this into two portions, right? Post COVID, or during the COVID time, or before, right? All our factories, that is a requirement. We need to have canteens, and food need to be served to the workforce. And even in our office area, where officers or executives or staffs who come on a daily basis, they have to. That is something which we need to ensure that this is not something which suddenly can be made to happen in a COVID situation. This is something which we always have made it during the non-COVID situations, where there is a proper balanced nutrition which has been planned in terms of whether it's a roti or dal. That there is something called the need food and the want food. As a thumb rule, if you ask me, right, the need is something where 4 handfuls, right? If you can see this thing, you cannot have like a mountain, but the need food is something where you can have protein or carb, whatever, in the 4 portions. And the want food, which is your pastries or dairies or healthy snacking, can be 1 handful. So that's a 5 parts which we always advocate. And in this area, it's very difficult to force fit certain people or the situations, right? All the company can do is make the range available for the people to choose. And you cannot really tell, whether it's a workforce or an office situation, for people to don't take this much, take only this much, or don't take too much, those kind of things. But what we can always tell is, when you have a proper nutrition, proper balanced portion, then your energy levels will be high, right? If you take if you get up by morning 6, and if you're going to rest at 10 p.m. in the night, throughout the day, the energy levels should not spike up, or it should not go down. For which, right, you should have a gap of every 2 hours if you have a proper nutrition. That's how it is also done in our factory canteens, where there is some kind of snacks and tea, or snacks happens after 2 hours, then you have breakfast, again a snacking, again lunch, again a snacking, again evening some snacks. So that's how the whole thing goes, so that we don't really make people to eat too much, and then one is they become dull and your productivity will come down. Not only productivity, you become sluggish, your thinking capacity also goes down. So that's one part of it. The other part in the COVID situation is, if you being in a work from home situation, right, the way we are, right, and we are within the four walls, right, operating within a 3,000 square feet or maybe slightly less or more, in that given situation our movement comes down. If you take the average calorific value of say 1,750 calories or whatever, right, that balance we should space it throughout the day, right, and our definitely the movement comes down than the regular one which we do during our during our office hours. So for that, the one of the thing is like having proper the salads and cooked vegetables, and not having too much of a cold stuff that will really affect you in terms of picking up flu and other stuff, right? So that's something I would always suggest. And there are certain good foods, right? Being a nutritionist, you are the expert in saying that, and there are few items which really brings good immunity, like your citrus fruits, right? Those are the things which again you cannot heat it in a big portion. A balanced portion helps. So I think I'm able to touch base on the question that you asked. If there is anything more specific, I'll be happy to do that.
Sure. No, I would want to get Chandan also, but let me just kind of pick out 2-3 points that were very interesting. The palm thing that you said, in the nutrition lingo, if I may say, there is something called HFSS foods, which is high fat, salt and sugar foods, which are basically when we tend to snack and snack often, and might be happening more in these extended house constrained, physical constrained times, the tendency is to go in for those snacks because those are easily available. Also the packaged ones, they are essentially high sodium, high salt and high fat. So I really liked this idea of the need and the want foods. So Chandan, do you want to add to this, and then I'll come back to you for one more kind of query. But if you want to add to what Jay has said, in terms of I know, and also what Jay, you said that, you can't really tell employees that eat that much or not. But do you guys think, and Chandan, you can weave this in your answer, the nudges, because if the corporate has a healthy workplace kind of a program, and if there is this constant information or nudge, I like to call this more as a nudge, because we know it all, but it's just you need that constant nudge to keep you on track, to say, okay, let me not pick up that Coke, or let me not pick up that bag of chips because today only a message came or whatever. So Chandan, do you want to add to this conversation?
Yes, absolutely. So this is primarily where and I very strongly believe personally in this, is that along with the food that we serve to our employees, we also need to tell them enough. And it's not only enough to tell them about the why of each and every food item, it's also very important to tell them about behavioral issues, which we say, when we talk about simple thing like water, we need to keep on telling them that if you are hungry, you don't immediately need to, access food. First, try to drink 2 glasses of water. That needs to be there in an environment where even food is being served, or even in an environment which is purely work restricted. Because I know many corporates which actually do not allow even snack items to be taken to workstations. Okay, but communication like this is really essential. We need to tell them, when you're stressed out, it could be a hunger pang, it could be a reaction to your stress, because these are our behavioral issues from where NCDs like obesity or excessive weight or even other diseases will eventually come on. It's very important for me to at this stage to tell a young employee ranging between the age group of even 25 to 30 that there are certain behaviors which you need to address. And it's not only talking about the benefits of eating fiber or the benefits of eating 5 fruits and vegetables in a day, or the benefits of eating millets every day, but it's also very essential for them to understand simple behaviors which can keep them away from choosing either wrong kinds of food or choosing the wrong quantities of food. And from these, this environment has been within so brought us to, first of all, highlighting each of our food options and the categories of red, amber, and green, which are based on the cooking methodology and the ingredients which are used in that particular preparation. And also, we have an annual program which has pre-decided themes for the entire year. Each month has a different theme, which either tells them about the benefits of a millet, or having enough fiber, or detox from digital, having a digital detox, or the importance of a simple thing like water. So every month has a pre-decided theme around which the communication in various media is created, and it's there for our consumers to experience within their cafeteria. So that kind of completes the entire sphere for them to be in an environment which is serving them what they would want to eat as food, as well as telling them enough about each and every aspect of whether it's your food or beverages or behaviors, etc., etc. This is at the moment what I would like to add.
No, great. No. I think you got some very good points there, and primarily one of which I do want to highlight, which was about water. So many
Yep.
a times it does happen that you think
We
you're
forget.
hungry, but actually,
Yes.
and there is a science behind it, but actually
Yes.
you need to hydrate. So I think that is a brilliant point that you brought in. And earlier also, like what Jay was saying, and I'm just kind of now what I heard from both of you, I'm trying to kind of put it here in saying that environment does matter, right? So if the corporate environment amplifies these messages, like I said, people know it. We are dealing with employees and not essentially talking about those who are in at basically across the spectrum of skill set, across the spectrum of understanding, and across the spectrum of access to information, right? If you kind of look at the industry or any corporate as a whole. But if this corporate environment is such that amplifies the messages of health, well-being, good food choices, suggests alternatives, so I think it does really affect or impact the decisions that people take.
Exactly.
I was reading a paper that says recording your weight. I mean, this is obviously not in the corporate this thing, but this is basically in the weight management domain, that if you record your weight, then it is more likely that it'll impact your food choices. Don't do anything, just record your weight.
Maintain
Yeah.
a food diet.
Yeah. And if I can pick on that, right? So even in factory environment or in our corporate office environment, right? We have the organization also had enabled in making certain things visible, like you rightly said. Have 5 tall glasses of water before you leave the office premises. Similarly, a nutritionist comes every week, right? And we take appointments, and they give a chart and say that based on your BMI, what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. So those are the stuff which is very helpful. And taking the COVID situation, right? Some of the things which we have added is we have made a one-page flyer wherein we not even talk about not only talk about the hygiene aspects in terms of hand sanitization and other things. We also talk about having lukewarm water continuously in terms of sipping it, so that you don't get the normal flu or some throat issues and other things, right? We encourage them to have some kind of a lime and other stuff on a periodical basis, right? Those are the things which in my regular interactions with the factory teams, right, I keep giving the messages, right? Practice this habit in terms of how to keep yourself healthy, in terms of sanitize yourself by taking some kind of what do you call steam inhalation at least once in a day. Over and above food, there are certain things which is additionally required to take care of your well-being at this point of time. So that's something which we are doing it extra over and above the regular stuff, right? So
No, thanks, Jay, for putting that in. I think one whole dimension that you have brought, we have been talking about COVID, this food safety, not just in our hygiene, but then the food hygiene, the food preparation, right from procurement to preparation to consumption, which is important but has become truly critical in these times. I remember, I keep talking about this, and in one of these, I concocted these formulas saying HW20, hand wash for 20 seconds, or something that kind of keeps the message going. But yes, thank you for bringing in this huge area of food safety and food hygiene, which is ever so important now given the COVID situation. Sorry.
And just to add, we in my previous organization, I used to be with Honeywell. Like, there are standards for health, right? In terms of for drinking water, there is a standard, right? What kind of a piping should be used, and what kind of testing need to be done. You need to test as per IS 10500, right? And ensure that you maintain the records of whatever drinking water you take inside the factory. So likewise, there are standards for food handlers. There are standards for drinking water. There are standards for bloodborne pathogens, right? There are standards for hand sanitization. There are so many things that is a standard, and it is very much insisted that these standards are followed, right? So I think a lot of interesting perspective comes in. But what happens in the current situation is there is a tendency for the folks to move in that direction. Otherwise, being a EHS professional, we need to drive it. And it is very hard. See, in safety, generally, when you have injuries where you can see the blood, people appreciate it. But there are certain things in hygiene which is not visible to the human eye, where you cannot appreciate it. In the current situation, right, I think most of the people, if they write the exam, they will pass microbiology. I think so. Because of the current situation, with the kind of material that floats in, right?
There is an upside to if that is an upside. But yes, what I have kind of gathered, and I know we'll soon be opening for questions. I'm seeing my chat box, which is filling up. We will be opening for questions, so please don't go anywhere. But I just wanted to make an observation here particularly, and what I have learned. So with the nutrition as a discipline, yes, I've studied that, and there are these standard nutrition principles, but I think a lot in my experience can be achieved when this knowledge is amalgamated with the yardsticks. And Jay, thank you for bringing all those standards. I think corporates are the best in setting standards in benchmarks. So if the standards can be set for corporate nutrition and the water nutrition, and there could be these competitive benchmarks that can be set, that would go a long way. So it kind of reiterates my learning that nutrition as a field, and when it can if it amalgamates with the practical benchmarks or the practical machinery of the corporate, can go a long way. I want to open this up for questions, and I've kind of peeped through the question, and there is one area that I wanted to specifically call out for, which is also kind of in the question, so there might be an overlap. But I do want to put this to both of you, and Chandan, you can probably take it first, or Jay. What about immunity? So we know that food has an immune boosting effect. There are nutrients. Similarly, food, the vitamins and minerals, they are like natural stress busters, right? And they are wrapped up into the protective food, so we say. So in terms of immunity, just wanted to understand quickly about how this immune function of food is perceived in the corporate nutrition well-being, and whether that perspective has changed or maybe emphasized on more with the COVID situation. Chandan, do you want to take this?
Yes, absolutely. Because now I think when we're talking about nutrition with any client or even consumer, immunity boosting, rules the roost kind of a thing. So I, in fact, myself have created multiple, so to say, quick recipes, because we are also dealing with a lockdown. We are also dealing with a major scarcity of ingredients, so to say. So we've actually tried to get down to the roots of, whatever is available in the house. So whatever is available in the house, and actually trying to build some preparations around those, ingredients which we all of us largely know about. Okay, but the depth of the treasure of immunity boosting substances which are there in a humble turmeric or a ginger or a lake or any of these ingredients isn't known to too many. And it's also very difficult to actually cook up a recipe which is appetizing to every age group that could be there in a household, from a young child to an old person, and have multiple of these. So I myself have actually curated some soups, beverages, and even my team of chefs has helped me to curate quick recipes with certain ingredients which are actually thought as to have great immunoboosting properties, because that is going to be the need of the hour. It is also at the moment, because already we are planning a post lockdown opening with most of our clients and consumers now, and the first thing which has gone into our menu planning, etc., is forming a base of all foods which will help to boost immunity in an individual.
Great.
So yes,
I wish
definitely that has,
I,
yeah.
I wish this was not a virtual meeting. We had a one-on-one kind of, a face-to-face thing. Then we would have invited you to get us a taste of all the recipes that you
Absolutely, we could have done
have.
that, but for
So,
the moment what
down
we
the column.
we've been able to do is at least share some quick ideas with, because it's really difficult for a layperson, so to say, to kya banao, that
Bilkul.
kya banao has become a very big question today.
Absolutely. Also, I think let me just call out two things here. One, what you said, I think that was a very interesting point that you said about it is very difficult to speak to various palates in the house, right? And to make a recipe or food that is liked by everybody. But I think once you, again, I'll go back to the why of it. Sometimes you eat stuff and then when you know it is good for you, so then you kind of make an effort to eat it. And also with corporates, I know a lot of women employees, there is a huge chunk of women workforce, and and males also. So it's like even males and females, they are parents, right? So they are shaping other generations. So I think as corporates, it's just not investment in the employees, it's investment in the home environment, which can also kind of make this palette malleable, right? So that was one. And before opening the session for discussion, I just wanted to put one more point there. Like you very rightly said, access is an issue. But then there are these alternatives that are available. There are a lot of resources that are going around that talk about alternatives. There's also extending the shelf life of perishable foods. Tomatoes can be pureed, ginger and garlic can be kind of browned, peas can be blanched and kept. So there are ways, and since we have under this lockdown effect, I think we can dip to those ways in extending the shelf life of the perishable foods. So if you give me the permission, should I request the session to be opened for discussion or question answers sessions? Can we do that?
Yes, please. I mean, I think we already can see a whole lot of questions coming in from our participants. So
yes, so whichever way you want to, if you while people have typed in, I think we've taken the immunity one. There are others. If you want to pick, take your pick. And if people want to ask the question, please introduce yourself. It'll be really good to know you, and then ask the question, and we can have the tech supports to unmute you or whichever way. So please, the floor is open now for questions. If anybody wants to ask, or Jay or Chandan, you can just pick the question.
So I think there is a question from Ms. Sandra Tehrani. What about immunity during the present pandemic and boosting it? Will it not play a role in this situation? So I think, Sandra, have we answered this question enough for you? Or because yes, immunity boosting during the pandemic and beyond this is going to be one of our very important aspects to look at with the food. But I would say we are lucky because Indian food, our traditional food in our homes, actually has all these ingredients by the way of spices that we use, by the way of condiments that we use, whether it's ginger, turmeric, the cloves, peppercorns, etc., etc. So all we need to understand is probably what to do with these ingredients and how to use them better on a daily basis in the meals or beverages that we consume. So for example, a simple chai that you may have couple of times in the day, add some peppercorns, cloves, etc., basil leaves. Tulsi is available in all our Indian homes very easily, mostly. So yes, so to answer your question quickly without taking too much time, I think yes, it does have a very big role to play, and we should look into ways of using these immunity boosting foods. Should I also take the next one, because it's just quickly around there from Ravindran? So Dexo serves only large organizations. Why are you not taking small and medium organizations? Ravindran, that is a question which I don't know, doesn't actually fit into this forum, but it's not like that. I mean, the choice, it's not, I shouldn't even call it a choice of a client or a consumer, but it's definitely a dialogue between our client and obviously our corporate teams. So yes, the why and why not will have to be answered by the respective teams. At the moment, I don't think I can actually give you a very satisfying answer to that. Yeah. Or maybe if you want to separately connect with me, maybe we could do that if you're looking out for Sorexo services for your organization. Right. Do you have any menu suggest to our employees to develop immunity? Again, I think Kuldeep, Smriti, I'm not sure, but if you want me to share like a batch of recipes with our participants at the end of the call, probably I could do that, because I see a lot of questions which are similar to immunity boosting recipes or suggestions. So I think
Oh,
that will help
absolutely.
to answer.
I think that will be great if you have links. I see Arogya team has shared already links to the MyThali, the pages
Okay,
and
great.
the
Yeah.
resources
Oh
that
yes, I see
Arogya has.
that from Shema. Yeah, cool.
But
So I think
it'll really help if you have any kind of
yeah, absolutely. I'll be more than
additional
happy to share it with our
information.
participants. Sure.
Sure, that you can share. And thank you on behalf of the participants. Otherwise, this is a request that generally we make in the sessions, that if you guys are available, the speakers, to share your contact details
Absolutely.
with
I'll
the
be more than
participants,
happy to
and they
do
can
that.
reach out to you for the follow-up questions or stuff like that. So
Sure.
thank you for offering that. So please go
My
ahead
pleasure.
and share whatever you
Yeah,
want.
and just Vinod Kumar, right? He had asked that at JCB there are 35% of gender diversity. See, this is same for even our workforce. If you take our company, right, we also have gender diversity. So it's very difficult to tell at one shot what need to be done for. When you talk about gender diversity, it's more about the the women workforce who are there with us, for which generally what we have is we have our own medical councils which happens every month, and we have site based doctors, and we have a specialist occupational health physician. So we give guidelines based on the inputs that comes from the factories, right, in terms of what is their health age group. And based on their age group, if they are above 40, right, we look at more in terms of whether there is a bone, the calcium deficiency, that osteoporosis and those kind of stuff. Based on that, there are certain prescriptions and inputs that goes from our site doctors or from the corporate doctor in the form of guidance. But that would be more, we won't do it as a blanket kind of a thing, but we generally prescribe or through the prescription with the site doctors of what they should consume, what should be the portion they should consume and all that, right? So in terms of the food, if you look at it, I would always stick to that need and the want food, right, which has a right amount of protein, fat, carbs, and the essential items, right, whatever is needed. So for which we generally take the support of the nutritionist, and based on that we try to design a program. And in the beginning we give a salad which is available in the counter, and it is up to them to choose how much they want. And as they move on, right, whether it's roti or the roti dal or rice, and then followed by fruits and vegetables, right, those kind of things, it's all balanced which is available. So I would say, I don't know whether I'm able to answer you direct on this, but this is what I can respond on this. If there is anything much more specific you need, please reach out to me. I'll be able to help you on that.
Also, if I may add here to this particular question, please do look up Arogya's My Thali. There is this whole website, and there are these menu options for urban women, which is available already there in the Arogya Healthy Workplace Companies, which is a network of about 130, if I'm not wrong. There are these menus that are kind of shared. So please do check out the link for this. I'm responding to this the query regarding women diets and requirements. So you will find a host of menus there for My Thali. What should a My Thali look like throughout the day, with main meals and snacks and various options that are available. So please do check those out for your specific query. Also, I wanted to add where my nutritionist had here for a while, and I wanted to add these rule of thumbs, which Jay has also mentioned, Chandan has also mentioned. When you talk about nutrition, there are these general kind of rules, like a balanced diet. If you talk about balanced diet or a healthy lifestyle, so what are the pillars? So basically it's your diet and your physical activity. If you have these two pillars in place, you'll pretty much manage your lifestyle, manage to have a healthy lifestyle, unless there is some therapeutic changes that are there due to some underlying conditions. Could be diabetes, could be hypertension, could be uric acid fluctuations, whichever. But otherwise, if you look at it, the concept of managing a healthy lifestyle or a healthy lifestyle is the bigger picture is simple. Similarly, for a balanced diet, the bigger picture is simple, and there is this formula. Jay has given you one there in the nutrition kind of universe. When we talk about it, to make it little user friendly, it is basically, we say 3 G's, which is basically the go foods, which are the energy ones. You would have your cereals and millets there. Fats and sugars would come there. You would have the second G is the grow food, and the third G is the glow food. The grow food is the bodybuilding foods, which will give you like the proteins, legumes, meat, flesh foods, poultry, milk and milk products. And the glow food, we touched upon this earlier. Basically, these are protective foods. All your fruits and vegetables, your green leafy vegetables, dark colored fruits, juicy fruits, citrus fruits, they come into this category. So it's not that hard. If you just follow these rules of thumbs, pick whichever you want, whichever kind of speaks to you, whether it is the palm formula or the other formulas. But if you have like a colorful plate, if you stay away, if you have water and roughage salads, raw foods, sometimes we miss in our diet when we think about balanced diet. Water, Chandan had already brought this point out, is as much a part of a balanced diet, please. So I think it's not that hard. Just sticking to good foods and trying to avoid, I won't call bad foods, but the want foods, and which are not really the need foods. And suppose, like in these days, I often say in lockdown, sometimes for some people, it has worked really well because they have more time and they are actually indulging into more workouts, they're doing in-floor exercises, on-floor exercises. But for some people who used to work out a lot, or maybe were used to a particular kind of genre of workout, the workout might be less, the energy expenditure might be less. So in those scenarios, how you can adjust the energy quotient of your food. So, try to make alternative food choices. So you can, so again, I can't say it again. I know I'm repeating, but just to understand the basic why of the foods, why you should eat what you should eat and why not. You should not eat or avoid the things that you should not eat, and just do a checks and balance in place. And of course, there are specialized advice available. Like Jay said, there are nutritionists, there are doctors who would look at your therapeutic or medical condition. But otherwise, as a physiological condition is concerned, whether you're elderly or child or a woman or a man, there are guidelines available, and you can just sync up the nutrition piece there. So sorry, I had to butt in. The nutritionist in me had to butt in this answer. But over to do you want to keep going, and are there more questions that we have not answered? Or if somebody wants to ask a question, not everybody must have typed in. Have we answered all the questions? Or please, if somebody has typed in and we have not answered, you can please, we are 10 minutes into finishing the webinar. So should I say please ask, or then we'll have the last word and then forever hold your breath? Should I say that? Any burning questions? Jay, Chandan, just scroll down if there is anything in chat that I don't see.
I think we have pretty much covered what was asked here in the chat. So I think we have answered it. Only thing, if there is some time, since Prashant ki, and just we can go through the slides quickly, just to, whatever we spoke, right, that would connect in terms of the visuals.
Saying that we have answered the question. A question has popped up to me. I don't know who this is from, but I'm just trying to read out. Do you have any suggested guideline for ITES food plan, as most of the employee operates in various different shifts? I don't know if I get your name correctly. Major
Yayati Pethe.
Yeah. So please.
So yes, so what I can input on this is, from Sodexo perspective, is we have already started thinking about ways and means, because ITES largely, if correct me if I'm wrong, Yayati, does not allow food to be taken into your workspaces, right? So we have already started looking into solutions which may allow for so it would allow you to probably either sit in the cafeteria. I mean, this is for the clients that are who are with us. It would allow employees to sit in a cafeteria only good timings. We are also looking at solutions which are grab and go types. Okay, so basically the employees can pick up food which has already been pre-packaged for lunch or dinner, probably a pre-ordering system. Also, we are looking into takeaway meals, so they don't really need to sit in one place and eat the food. And also the meals are not very elaborate, and also not something which could spill or all over. So we are trying to curate meals for our consumers which would be compact meals. For example, if we are doing a 7-day menu, we would look at millet based recipes. We would look at incorporating sprouts, etc., in meals that we give. We are also looking at providing beverages, which we just spoke about, immuno boosting ingredients. We are also looking at like I said, the meals would be takeaway. So even if an employee is a person who's a bachelor and is staying alone, he doesn't really have to worry about a meal that he would go back home and probably make himself and eat. So we are already looking into these solutions for our client and consumers, which are operating in various environments. So ITES is one of them.
Yeah. And there was a question from Krishna Kurup. I'll attempt this. Probably somebody can help if you need. See, in terms of the food items that we need to take now, I would say that once we get up, after having some glasses of water, tall glasses of water, 1 to 2, we can have some good sprouts, right? And then within an hour of getting up, right? So after that sprouts, give a space of another 1.5 hours, then have your breakfast, whatever, you want to have, simple food, simple, small breakfast. Then if it is around 8:30 or 9, then by 11 o'clock, you can have a glass of milk or buttermilk, and then some cut fruits. Then followed by, after 1.5 2 hours, that can be the lunch with small portion. And then 3 p.m., another small snacking. Then around 5:36, you can have your dinner, 6:30, early dinner. And then before you hit the bed, probably you can have a small portion of, milk or some simple food, again, cooked food. So that's what I follow, and that's what I always advise those who are in touch with me, being a conscious person in terms of food. I think that's the best thing to follow at this point of time. We should avoid as much as fried items or something which is bought out items. And because if something you take which is difficult to digest, or if it is too spicy, it can cause some difficulty in terms of acidity, or it can cause, any kind of difficulty, then I think that should be avoided at this point of time. Be it exercise or be it food, what you are doing on a regular basis, we should do that, rather than trying something new. Just because you have some time, if you do some severe workout, then you're going to have some pain and you are going to worry about why this pain is all about. Depends on where it pains. Similarly, on the food, I advise the same, right? If you try something new and if it doesn't go well for you, again, it hurts you. So I just follow this regime, and I would say that this is something which I'd advise my colleagues or friends.
Thanks, Jay, for
Yeah.
for giving us a peep into your eating regime. Some private information shared there, but thank you for doing that. But for all of you who are listening, like we said, these are the broad, whatever works for you. There are these broad kind of principles that we just shared, but please do keep in mind your particular, whatever works for you, and works for you in two lenses, because one are requirements as for physiological state. A physiological state would also mean it's just not what life stage you are at, like you're a woman or a man or a child, adolescent, young child, elderly. Requirements would vary, but also a very crucial dimension to these requirements, or the general guidelines, is your physical activity, right? So I think most of us are in sedentary lifestyle, and now more so when we're in lockdown, right? So whether you are sedentary, moderate, or heavy activity, so your requirements are synced up. And to the question on shifts, again, these things on how are you maintaining your routine, how are you maintaining your so the time that you are awake, basically how are you managing your nutrition or food in that body clock, or in those times that you are awake, and also making sure that you are not forgetting about the other pillar of the lifestyle management, which is physical activity, because many a times in shifts that kind of gets
Just to add, that metabolism increases. And just to give a small thing, though I gave my example, that was not my regime, it's more the energy for performance model, right? The E4P or the corporate athlete, that program prescribes this approach, right? Which I tried to personalize it and try to convey it, which was kind of good learning for me, and I thought I would share it here in the group.
It works for
And
you.
yeah, and for the shift people, the metabolism will be high, because when you're working in the night, for example, you're coming for a 10 o'clock shift in the night, then your body burns, right? It burns fat or carbs, it gets burnt out, and then you become hungry by night 12 or 1 p.m. Then there is a small snacking which is needed at that point of time. Fortunately, people who work in our factory, they get an opportunity to have some good biscuits or nutritious products. They can do it. But there are other industries where engineering industry or chemical pharmaceutical industry, people, they may not be able to have that kind of facility. But here again, we always, I'm fortunate to work in companies like where they make Horlicks, Boost, and all that. And sometimes our guys, they make balls of Horlicks and gulp it, and then it also makes them big. So that also we try to advise them that too much of anything, sugar that goes into it, right? It affects the immunity in this point of time.
Correct. Absolutely. So moderate.
In the shift, moderate yourself. Whatever you take, have it moderate. The things it helps.
Exactly. So moderation is the key. And now I'm going to wear my moderator's hat and make a few announcements and kind of effectively wrap in the session in time. And I know there are some requests for you to hang out a little later for the feedback, but let me formally Thank you, Jay and Chandan. Thank you so much for sharing such insights with everybody here. I'm informed that in our participants, we have participants from various companies, CBRE, Galaxy, GACS, and other corporate leaders that are there. And also Arogya's Healthy Workplace team and leadership, really, for getting this all together. The next webinar in this series is planned on 29th of April, same time, 3 to 4. Now, it is very exciting because a huge association is with CII. So this webinar is will be in association with CII, and the subject would be return to work strategies post-lockdown. And you all will get obviously intimations around this and post-session update summary also, like has been done in the past. So we are close to signing off now, but not without reiterating the message that, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And there is, I think, an opportunity in everything that we do. Missed opportunities we talked about in cultivating good habits and actually reflecting on a little closely on what we are eating and what we should eat. And so with these messages, I think I'll sign off saying, stay home, stay safe, and be well, and we will win this together. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So over to the team. Are there any announcements that you would want to make? Otherwise, yeah, I can take pride in doing a good moderation and finishing the session.
I just have a quick announcement. Before we close, I would like to share a small feedback form with all the participants. I would request all of you to please share your feedback with us. It will help us improve the quality of the sessions. I'm just going to share it. I hope everybody can see it on the screens.
Not yet, but hopefully to see it quickly. Yeah, it's showing up.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the moderator and to Chandan, and opportunity given by the Arogya team. Great effort. It also, personally, if you ask me, it helped me to kindle my thoughts. In fact, I have to relook at the diet programs that we have in each of the places and in our factories. So, thank you so much again.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thanks Arogya for having me on this lovely forum. Thanks the participants also.
Thank you all for the time, and I'm filling the form too. So yeah, thanks.
A big thank you from the Healthy Workplace team. Thank you, Smriti, Dr. Smriti, for.
Usha, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Thank you.